Yo, man, we back with another one, man. As always, I'm your host, Marcel Griffin, known as a Wealth Mentor, Wealth Creator, and this is always, you guys know, this is Wealthy Sibling, where we talk about changing our family's money story, right? What does that mean to go on the journey to become or be the wealthy sibling, wealthy relative, the good, the bad, and the experience as the entrepreneur, right? And man, yo, your host is saying goodbye to his 20s. This at the time this airs is the last week that I will be in my 20s, right? I will be saying an end and a goodbye to my chapter in my 20s, 29, and I will be 30, right? Uh to some it's exciting, to others it's a sad goodbye because you see the memes, you be like, man, yo, 30 catching up to you. You know what I'm saying? You 90, before it was 1990, it was 1995 for us, you feel me? So yeah, we here, 30 is finally caught up to us. And I wanted to reflect with y'all. This is what I want to share with y'all. A sort of time capsule recap of like my financial lessons, right? And if you to like who your host is, who Marcel is, and just how did I become a wealth creator, the wealth mentor. You can grab my book, A Trade I Made, which is talks about actual trade I made as far as an investor, and a psychological mind shift, right? It's just truly a decision I made to change my life and be a different man. But man, nah, man, let's get into it. Let's unpack this journey of 20s, right? And the financial lessons that stuck out to me in between these years. From 20 to 21, I was still young, vibrant, and felt like I had all the time in the world, and felt like the money in my pocket at the time was gonna last me all the time in the world. But what I did do, because some would always probably say, like, if you talk to a few people, they're like, yo, he was always mature. You feel me? So in between that time from 2021, I did get my first apartment. I already had a car because I had been driving since I was about 16 anyway, but I was transitioning. So I got my first apartment, right? So I want to reflect on you what that means when I talk about like financial lessons. The time frame of when I got my first apartment, I had to understand credit, because they would check your credit score. They would do like a background. People run a background like, hey, and most of the time they would care that you had a job. So for those that are coming out of the teens, walking into their 20s, especially walking into adulthood, I definitely want you to listen to this if you drive, right? Prepare yourself to be the best presented adult on paper as you go into your 20s, right? So when you apply for a job or an apartment in this instance, people ain't gonna look at you like crazy. They're like, oh, okay, he got his stuff together. He got a good work history, kept a job since he was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Because they only know you as a person. And this time they ain't reflecting on you um, as a teenager or anything like that. It says your name, your credit score with, your background. Do you have a job? Yes or no? You check the boxes when you start applying for apartments. So this is usually around the time because you're usually exiting college. You hear me? So 2021, got my first apartment. I remember like it was yesterday. I had carpet, but I only had to pay two bills off back, right? Which was my rent and my light bill, because everything in my crib was electric. I had wooden cabinets, dark wooden cabinets, uh, uh, maybe like glass panels, and it matched with all my furniture. And I got blessed to get free furniture at that time, Joe. And it was my piece of heaven, my piece of adulthood, right? Uh, at the end, so and through that, I also had switched out of cars. So I think I had my my Impala. I had my, which I still thought, because it was fairly new for me as far as how long I've had it, right? Because it was 2010, and this was like 2015, right? 2015, it was 2010. Damn, that. Now that I think about it, it's not running time. It ain't even that old. But anyway, man, reflecting. So, yeah, had a fairly new time span, new whip for me at that time. From 2021 to from 21 to 23, right? I was living in my apartment. Riding back and forth to the hood, showing off my Impala. We outside, and I'm being frivolous with money. I'm going to parties, which I realized, like, when I reflect now, going into my 30s, I would have partied less. Man, by the time I turned 25, my trajectory would have been way, way different for sure for me. So from 21 to 23, I'm outside, just riding around, spending money on bottles, going to clubs. I'm talking about me and my homies was club hard. My brother D, we was always outside. My brother E-Man and our homie Mike. We was always outside. So, and what I will say, from a financial standpoint, the man I am today is going to tell you, I could have been way more aware of where my money could be going, because I was also around the time frame that I became aware of the stock market, of better ways to have wealth, but I wasn't the wealth mentor, wealth creator that who created the podcast Wealthy Sibling today. Like, we wasn't on that. I was just aware. But it was fun, bro. I still had fun, right? But I would have said, yeah, don't stop spending $30 to $100 every weekend, maybe every 2 days, because you're going out back to back, and you could really do something else with that. Like, you could start your Roth with that money in 30 to 60 days, right? And I'm young, vibing, and free. Overtime I'm hitting nothing. 21 to 23, I also got a job. And I had to start paying attention to the importance of not life insurance, the importance of health insurance. Because I remember I had hit an injury with my knee while I was still on probation, and all while I'm going through my mind, I'm like, damn, I'm gonna pay for this. Because hospital bills is high if you're not on insurance, whether it's through your job or otherwise. Hospital bills is crazy. So it was things like that. So I still was always thinking about bills when I was on the come up, and not really structuring my life around building wealth for real in between 20 to 25. 23, I was like, yo, I need a shift, because this is not adding spiritual value, right? Because there's monetary value in your life. Your paycheck, if you're growing money, you trading, whatever the case is, doing real estate, it's monetary value in it. There's also spiritual value in your life. So when I turned 23, that was the start of like, yo, this job has given me what it could give me, and I need to move around, because I may end up drowning or suffering here, or being stuck here. And I was to this day, that's still always a thing for me. I would get this feeling in my stomach and in my gut, yo, wake up, Marcellus, wake up, Marcel. You might be getting complacent here. You might be getting stuck here. Like, you don't want to do that. And I just get to it, right? Like, I will find or do my best to figure out a way to transition, to get farther, right? So 23 to almost up until now, but 23, there was a transition. I started working in government, right? And 23 to 25, the wildest thing happened, right? Which is the transition of presidencies, right? There's a transition of presidencies while I'm getting this new job, while I'm getting a government job. And I really start to lock in on like the benefits. There are benefits to having a government job, but I will always say the benefits of following my dream and growing wealth the way I want to will always outweigh any type of quote unquote, you got a good job of cultural security, right? You know how we talk, we say, hey man, you got a good job. That's cool, but if it's not growing wealth the way I want it to, what we talking about? Because that's my dream, right? And I'm still striving for that. So as we go through this, I want you to hear, especially for those who are walking into adulthood, you're 18, you're freshman going to college, you're coming into your 20s, you're coming into officially being 21. Like stay with me, because I'm going to tell you some of the things that I don't think nobody really did tell me as I was just running through my 20s. So 23 to 25, I started to settle into this government job that I got. And they start talking about a separate type of savings account that it works similar to very much like a Roth, right? In my opinion, because they take portions of your money, right? And it's called a company match. A lot of companies do this. It's called a company match, and they'll match your contribution. Which is a benefit, right, to having what do you call these upscale or government jobs. And I do want to acknowledge that no place is perfect, because there was a plethora of Black women, like estimatedly 300,000 Black women who lost their jobs. They've been said the majority of those were government or security based jobs, and they were let go. Right. So I want you to be aware of this. Even if you hear somebody say, oh, you got a good job and it's quote unquote forms of security, look, create and find your own security, especially in a dream or career that you love, nothing else, right? And strive for that. So getting back to it, 23 to about 26, I started hearing about that. With the financial knowledge I did know, and I just started probably getting into investing for real. I had opened up a brokerage by the time I was 23, but I had a Jamba Juice of stocks in there that I was like, yeah, these are going to go up and my portfolio is going to grow. But I didn't have true direction. I just had concept. And when you're young, it's like that. You don't have true direction unless someone's sitting down with you most of the time running through your 20s. But you have concept though. You have, hey, I want to be this and want to be that. Like I would talk to people and when I first started 3 years later, they saying I want to be in the FBI, and they still where they are. And I'm not counting people's circumstances, but I just watch those things as well. So don't run through your 20s, right? Take the time to really build yourself. And don't take this as a time of you have all the time in the world, because look what happened. You wake up, you could be 30. 30 still relatively young. I'll still say that. But you can be older, right? 35, 40. And what you wanted your life to be, it isn't. And you can be heavily impacted financially from that. But there was some pluses though, right? I learned about refinancing, right? Consolidating my debt to get a better hold on my day-to-day life, monthly life, and my monthly budget, right? I started to entrust and really learn about deductions in between this time with my taxes. But also I did my best not to drink as much. And I had some swings in between this time, right? From 25, though, there was a big shift. I stopped dealing with like what I would perceive like my long-term girlfriend. I took a seat back to really reflect on my life and how much money I done ran through. I ran through 3, 4 rentals, the amount of money I spent on my car. And then it was just time for me to really reflect on like, yo, where your finances going and where's your life going, bro? By 25. So from 25 to 26, I locked in on creative brokerages and started entrepreneurship for real. I started to Google, hey, what are the plethoras or ways that I can get into entrepreneurship and quote unquote make money? My thing was, hey, how can I make money? Is there any, and this was probably a bad habit, but this also comes from 18 to 25, bro. I was outside in the street. I know statue. So I was outside in the street, bro. Like there was no, I'm used to being able to go into an environment and make quick money or even going to work. But I know the concept of, yo, I can go get some quick money too for real. So my mind, I'm like, hey, yo, how can I make some money by 25? I still had my loan to portfolio by that time. I was building it up. I had Apple. I had Amazon in there at one point. So I had a few things. And I remember I was Googling like wholesaling. And I'm not saying that none of these things don't work. I think I never sat between 25 to now. Well, a little bit before now, maybe 25 to 27. I didn't sit with myself and decide what's the one thing I'm going to focus on to create my wealth. I'm just Googling, I can make money in real estate. What's the ways? Wholesaling, house flipping, multi-unit, which is probably the main three that you're going to hear about. There's land development, which is probably going to be 4, but there's tiers to all these things, right? And this, when I talk about these things, they're going to be really under the umbrella of entrepreneurship, which you can sort of call it that, but in industries. So I'm trying everything. I'm like, all right, I don't have the straight up savings because I was aware of all this prior to even in my 20s. Get savings, have some fun. I had like 5 credit cards by the time I was 25. 5 credit cards, maxing some out, trying to figure this out and not actually even leveraging reward points. Like I wasn't even locked in to leveraging reward points. Probably should have got, because in that time my credit score was way higher. Fresh 21, you can have like 750, and I did at that time. And the way I would have said, hey yo, go get you a airline credit card, because eventually you're going to be traveling. In between this time, I'm going back and forth. And now I'll write off my trips, like going to Invest Fest. But 2025, I think was my first Invest Fest. I think, where else did I go? Because I went to Atlanta like twice. Oh, Next Level, 27 was Next Level and back to my speech career. But that's like, I'm going to Atlanta, and I'm not really locked in on, yo, if you had a credit card that was dedicated, or even if you review your credit cards and their reward points, this would be way different. If you locked in on getting straight education on the stock market and not entrepreneurship and the ways to make money, streamlined to me is always the best line. I tell this to my mentees and y'all today. So yeah, I would have did way things in between 20 to 25 to 27. Way different. I would have said 4 credit cards, probably max. If 4 is probably pushing it if I'm 25. What are my reward points, bonuses, and benefits of each credit card? Like I remember there was a Pacific credit card that I would have never had to pay for the collision insurance whenever I got rentals when I went out of town because my credit card covered that possible incident. I get and it would tell me all the time. I remember because it was one of the few things I actually paid attention to. I was like, hey, here's a underlying benefit that we have for you. If you get your rent, if you book your rental under this credit card, it was a silver one too. We'll waiver or cover collision fee under your rental. If you pay your rental, and I have the money on hand. So this is why they always talk about leverage other people's money. You can leverage your bank's money because if I have the money on hand to pay for the rental already, you use the benefit of the credit card, which is, hey, I'll pay for this credit card. They're going to cover the collision insurance that the rental already is going to offer me. I don't need to pay for the extra fee on top. Just pay for the rental and pay the car back. And if you want to wait on the because they have the statement date and post date in regards to that leeway or benefit in regards to how it impacts your credit score. Like they say, if you pay before your post date, I remember how this play goes. And it reflects it prior to your statement date. It'll reflect that you don't have a balance or a low balance on a credit card, and that reports a positive to your credit report, and your credit score goes up. That's the length of the play. That's what that's about. So, so it's things like that, right? Groceries, right? I had the same amount of money in my 20s that I would spend on groceries every week, whether I'm cooking for my little shorty or myself or whatever the case was. It's the same money. That's what they mean when they say leverage other people's money. You're spending the same amount of money. The dollar is the same. It's going equivalent. You're spending $300 in cash. You might as well spend the $300 in credit. Use the benefit. I think they would ask me. They was like, "Hey, you get 3% here, 1% here, so forth and so on." Right. Another thing that I would have did from 25 to 27 was the credit increase play every 6 months, right? But what did happen in between 20 to 27, every 3 to 2 years or so, via the administration, ironically got a pay raise. So going back to the play, even with the credit card and asking for increases, they're going to ask you what your annual income is. Each year you're stating, and you ain't capping. Some people cap on the application, but you ain't capping. Yo, I went from 50 to 57. I went from 57 to 63, 63 to 69, so forth and so on, right? You got a raise. And it just looks good, right? And you can always round it out. Use like 63, you say 65, and whatever. It's up to you. But things of that nature. Man. One of my biggest financial recaps was from 27 to 29. Don't waste time on people who don't care about your interest in your life. Don't spend money on them. Don't spend gas on them. Like, don't engulf yourself in people who at the end of the day will treat you like a fleeting experience, right? Who will treat you like $1 when you worth 1,000, because your time is valuable. And I think to me that was reflecting on the value that I truly have in myself, my standard as a man over anything else. I'm floating in my 20s, because that is the pinpoint and structure of how I'm supposed to view myself. I would say that. So if I was to recap with y'all, understand where you want to go when you're walking into your 20s. 20 to 21, point out your career and dream. Find out how much it costs. 2021, point your career. Find out how much it costs to make it happen. Leverage other people's money. You can get scholarships before you apply for school, because in society, in this world, and I have to reflect on this, they still value education. Now, you can make money in the market and other places without quote unquote traditional education, but you still need education. And however you get it is fine. But if you get it through traditional scholarships, before you do FAFSA, look into it, go to school, leverage other people's money. FAFSA is other people's money as well to further your career and your dream. Me, purposely, I would always say dream, but if you want to create your career, that's cool too. You can be a corporate 8-figure person as well. And then by the time you're 25, you're sitting 6 credit cards max, understanding all the benefits as you travel. Everything is a write-off. Your car is a write-off. You got a home office. If you ended up becoming an entrepreneur, like, you're in a completely different boat. Your life is completely different. And yeah, man. So by the time you come to 30, you understand that you have to value yourself the most. No one is going to value you the way you value you, and put a stamp, an 8-figure limit on the respect you have for yourself, and you walk in every room like that. I would say that. Yeah, and just have boundaries. Have boundaries. Friends, families, whoever, relatives, whoever. Yeah, that's my piece on I'm saying goodbye to my 20s. It was fun. I appreciate it because I had some dear friends in my 20s. They're no longer here. We was outside. We was kicking it. Great memories in my 20s still. I do have positive memories in my 20s. But there are financial lessons that I definitely probably would have did different. I definitely would have did different. Man. And I'm going into 30 and going into my representation as a man, as a wealthy man, a wealthy sibling. And I don't think I would have it any other way where I am today. Because going into my 30s, I'm a published author. Need you to grab my book, A Trade I Made. I talked about it earlier. Going into my 30s, right? I'm an established author. My name rings bells in my city. I'm a independent investor. Like, I'm different. And I'm proud to stamp my 30s as the man I am today and becoming, right? Striving to be the wealthy sibling who wants to create a million wealthy mentees. Like, walking into my 30s like that, yeah. But Marcel, I'll say this to you. Your 20s was the lessons, financial, otherwise, that you needed to learn, that you needed to go through, that you needed to experience. That way, when you stand up as a primetime man today, going into your 30s, you understand what you need to do and need to be about. I would say that. Much love to you. Great memories. And appreciate everybody who's coming on this journey with us. Who's going to be the next wealthy sibling? Who's going to be the next wealthy relative? And like, we just going to keep it pushing. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'm Marcel Griffin, Wealth Mentor, Wealth Creator. And this